Donald Trump has had some kind of health crisis requiring an emergency, unscheduled trip to a doctor over the weekend. I woke up this morning and reviewed the YouTube media to see what was going on. Couldn't find anything on mainstream media. Here's what I found.
Major red flags are being raised as Donald Trump took yet another mysterious trip.
There's something going on here. I do believe it's one of the biggest cover-ups in American history. We're going to keep following it. They clearly don't want us talking about it. They want to hide it. Mainstream media, for one reason or another, because they're bought or because they're scared, are not talking about it.
The lack of reporting that has been done on one of the biggest scandals in presidential history should have us all furious, especially today when we are just getting news of a leaked emergency or at the very least unscheduled medical visit by Donald Trump that has a former White House doctor sounding the alarms about the state of the president's health.
Wow, that sounds pretty bad. That sounds like some sort of a serious health crisis. Alarm bells are being sounded by former White House doctors. Let's get straight into this and see what is going on. First, we'll start with Keith Edwards. Let's review what he had to say.
Donald Trump made an emergency, unscheduled trip to the doctor where he said, and the White House says, was a routine visit. Only there's one problem. It wasn't on his schedule, and no one knew about it until after the fact. Now, let's go into a little bit about what happened. Donald Trump made a very odd medical visit today in Florida. I'm going to tell you why that's odd in just a second. But first, let's get into this part. Donald Trump, 79, made an unscheduled stop at his Florida dentist on Saturday morning, igniting more speculation about his health. Now, doctor and CNN commentator Jonathan Reiner made this point because a White House reporter, really, they're just stenographers at this time. They just write what the White House wants them to say. But one White House pool reporter said that after he left his golf club in Florida for a dental appointment, the White House just told him, scheduled appointment at his local dentist.
So this was a dental visit, an emergency dental visit.
Well, that's just entirely untrue. We looked at Donald Trump's schedule. As you see here, he's got some stuff planned today, some stuff right. There was nothing on his schedule yesterday or today that points out that Donald Trump would have made a routine visit. And it is very, very typical for the President of the United States when he has a medical operation or even a doctor's visit, it's put in the schedule. So that to me speaks to the fact that this was not routine. It was an emergency. We don't know what the emergency was. We don't even know if.
One note, that schedule for that date, May 2nd, I believe, has since been updated, and the dental visit is now on that schedule. Although when Keith looked at it, the entire day was missing. So apparently this was, unscheduled visit, emergency visit to a dentist. I'll talk more about that in a second.
Donald Trump met with a dentist, or if it was perhaps with a doctor. As Jonathan Reiner pointed out here, the White House has had a dental operatory since the Hoover administration. Routine dental exams can be done in the White House. So that points to the fact, too, that if this really was routine, why did it have to happen yesterday? Why couldn't it have happened throughout the week when Donald Trump is actually at the White House with someone who knows the president very well? Not really making sense to me.
It's making sense to me. There's a dentist that Donald Trump wants to see specifically, his local dentist in Mar-a-Lago. I'll tell you why I think that's true. Let's move on to Ben Meiselas over at MeidasTouch and see what they had to say about this emergency dental visit.
It should also be noted that, as far as we know, Donald Trump has not had his annual physical this year. The last one was in April of 2025.
That's true. Just made a video about that a couple days ago. His schedule was notably empty on April 4th. So it's possible that he might have gone over to Walter Reed on April 4th and had his annual physical then. The rest of April's schedule was quite full. So if he was going to do it, that would have been the day that he's done it. But obviously no word yet if that's the case. His last visit with the doctor was back in October when he had the CT scan that he told us first was the MRI, all that. That's when that happened. So it's been about 6 months. So he certainly would be due for another visit or he's overdue or past due for his next evaluation or his next visit.
And also the White House has an entire room for dental procedures where dentists from Walter Reed, the top dentists in the country, or dentists, frankly, from anywhere else in the country or the world, could perform procedures or do checkups at a location in the White House that actually has a dental office built into it. So when former President Biden got a root canal, for example, during his presidency, it was transparently announced, and the procedure took place at the dental office inside the White House.
I didn't know that the White House actually had a dental suite down in the basement, although I suppose I'm not surprised. As anybody knows, it's pretty easy for a tooth problem to pop up. And I suppose having some basic dental equipment right there at the White House and bringing a dentist over from Walter Reed to do some work on the president is easier than motorcade all the way over to Walter Reed for something that would be minor, like a cavity or even a root canal.
I want to break this down for you with the receipts, with the facts, like we do here at the MeidasTouch Network. And then I want to show you all of the manipulation that Trump has been doing with his medical records. And I've been raising this red flag every single day because I know corporate news ain't doing it. And
MeidasTouch does raise questions about Donald Trump's health just about every day. That is true.
Think it should be very obvious when we see Donald Trump's cognitive and physical rot before our very eyes. And I think we should be asking the right types of questions because it is 25th Amendment time, like yesterday and the day before yesterday.
The 25th Amendment is not going to happen. I made a video about that. It's right here. You can go check that out. It's easier to impeach and convict a president than it is to invoke the 25th Amendment. So unless Donald Trump has some serious incapacitating health crisis, something like a stroke or worse, the 25th Amendment is not going to happen.
So Sebastian Smith posted the following: per White House pool reporter Annie Linsky, the president has left his Jupiter Golf Club in Florida for a dental appointment. White House says it's a, quote, scheduled appointment at, quote, his local dentist, as Dr. Jonathan Reiner explains, and he's a top cardiologist in D.C. He was a cardiologist for Cheney and for lots of other top officials in Washington, D.C. Reiner writes, the White House had a dental operatory since the Hoover administration. Routine dental exams can and almost always are done in the White House. And for example, go to mouthhealthy.org. It has the history of dentistry. The president doesn't go far to visit the dentist. In fact, the dentist comes to him. The White House has had a dental office since the Hoover administration. Obama told Jimmy Kimmel he first learned about it when he thought he had a loose cap. Got the whole chair. Everything is all there set up in the basement, he said.
Okay, so the question now is, why didn't Donald Trump see the dentist that's available at the White House? I think I have a pretty easy explanation for that, and this is not feeling like a health crisis. So hopefully this isn't much ado about nothing, but I'm worried that it is. Let's hear what Jack Cocchiarella has to say. But first, for 15 years as an internist, I saw Medicare patients run into the same problem over and over again. They got signed up on the wrong Medicare plan. That happened because they picked a plan that they saw on TV, or an insurance agent sold them a plan that made the agent more money. I saw it all the time. Millions of seniors are on the wrong plan because of that. That's why I partnered with Chapter. In a quick 20-minute call, Chapter walks you through all of your Medicare options: original Medicare, supplemental plans, Advantage plans, and Part D. And they help you find the right plan that fits your needs and budget. Seniors who work with Chapter save an average of $1,100 per year. So I encourage you to call 504-613-5925 and speak with a trusted Medicare advisor today. Okay, back to the Trump health crisis. This is Jack Cocchiarella Let's hear what he has to say about this.
So this is just batshit crazy that the White House press pool does not get information about where the president is going for a secret emergency visit. And Dr. Reiner is absolutely right. The fact that we even have these questions about Donald Trump's health tells us every single thing that we need to know. We are so right to question this emergency visit. Is it an emergency visit? It is. It's unscheduled, so it must be an emergency. But did Donald Trump chip his tooth on the golf course? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Let's think of this logically. All right. So Donald Trump takes an emergency visit to his dentist. Okay. He was just leaving the golf course. He chipped the tooth. Great. Let's say he chipped the tooth. Eating what exactly? Like, I've seen a lot of video of Donald Trump on the golf course. He never really seems to be eating, right? I don't think he could have chipped a tooth like biting into ice. That doesn't make any sense. I believe Donald Trump does have veneers. I'm not sure, but I think he does.
Yes, Donald Trump definitely has veneers. This smile in an 80-year-old is definitely not natural teeth. So he certainly has veneers, and he certainly has a local cosmetic dentist that I'm sure he's seen for a very long time. And we already know that Donald Trump does not like change. So he certainly has kept his local cosmetic dentist, which is probably why he goes to his local dentist near Mar-a-Lago, like he has, I'm sure, for a very long time. Why he went, maybe he had a cavity, maybe a crown came loose, maybe he had some tooth pain, or maybe he chipped a tooth or cracked a veneer or something like that when he was eating at the golf tournament that he was at that same day nearby. What else, Jack?
And so was he eating a hot dog and that chipped his tooth? Was he eating a burger? He finished his round of golf, so it couldn't have been that bad, right? Like, you're not going to chip a tooth and be in excruciating pain and then saying, okay, well, I still want to play the back nine. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So clearly this was some sort of maybe emergency schedule. Maybe they just didn't want us to know. But it's either an emergency because Donald Trump had a dental issue and they weren't telling anyone, which is weird. It's a dental issue, right? Or this is a visit that's been scheduled for a while, so Donald Trump doesn't go to Walter Reed and the press doesn't cover it too much. Because really, let's think about this. If it is an emergency and Donald Trump cracked his tooth or cut his gums or I don't know, something, why wouldn't they tell the press?
Easy answer. Like I've said before in other videos, like this cult video right here, for a political cult leader, they must maintain this aura of invincibility. They cannot have any health ailments. They must seem like nothing is ever wrong with them. So certainly Donald Trump will ensure that they continue to cover up any health issues, even minor health issues. Any information that comes out of the White House is certainly going to be nothing but rave reviews of Donald Trump's perfect health. So I'm certainly not surprised that maybe we didn't hear about this, what sounds like a relatively minor dental problem. What else?
Right, that's not humiliating. It's not like, Donald Trump wet himself on the golf course, right? If your friend said, I had to run to the dentist the other day. I cracked my tooth. It was awful. You wouldn't be like, ha, like you're so old and falling apart. You'd be like, oh man, that really sucks. Like, I'm sorry. Cracking your tooth is not something to be embarrassed about. So if this was an emergency and they're not telling us, doesn't that just show you everything you need to know about where the White House stands in terms of protecting Donald Trump and his, I guess, his ego when it comes to his medical situation? It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, ego. His pathological malignant narcissism, his number one problem. We've talked about this many times before. Once again, he's a political cult leader. He must maintain his aura of invincibility. I am not surprised that this wasn't on the schedule, and actually this dental visit is now on the schedule. Also of note, he had a visit in January 10th to his local dentist, presumably the same local dentist. Remember, Donald Trump is an entertainer. He's a celebrity. celebrities like this, when they get doctors that do cosmetic work on them, like veneers, like Donald Trump has, they have a tendency to stick with the doctors that they know and that they believe does a good job for them. So just like most likely in his visit in January, the same thing happens. He was in West Palm Beach, maybe decided to get a little bit of work done or needed a little bit of maintenance done. Maybe he just needed a cleaning. It could be something just as simple as that. I don't hear a health crisis or a health emergency. These videos have like 1.5 million views. I feel like we're crying wolf a little bit here about something that's not really that much of a health crisis. I do appreciate Keith Edwards, MeidasTouch, Jack Cocchiarella for keeping close watch on these Trump health issues and health questions. We do need to keep observing and watching closely, but let's not take our eye off the ball. The most pressing thing before all of us is what is happening with the 2026 elections and the attempts to steal the elections, to gerrymander, to truly rig the elections, like Trump claims that the other side is always doing. This is what we need to be paying attention to. So let's keep focus on what's truly the most important thing, and that is to preserve our democracy. So there you have it with this health crisis. I just don't see it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers. A very special thank you to our new and existing members. Come say hi to me. I'm over on Blue Sky. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you for the next Trump health crisis.